Chris.
Yeah.
You're an honorary Basque. What does that make you as a Pilote player? How's your game?
Oh, I'm not so good.
Well, you play Pilote. What do you mean you're not so good?
Well, I've only been here 7 years.
7 years. That doesn't make anybody a Pilote player. What do you do? I guess you have to be born a Basque to be a real Pilote player.
Yeah.
There's some 5-year-olds. They seem to be doing pretty well.
Oh, they start even before that.
They do?
Yeah.
There's a very good one there, so you can see him. He's a champion. What's his name?
Robert.
That's right, Robert. And who's the comedian in the group?
Oh, he's Don Louis, his best friend.
The kids, you'll notice, are hitting with clenched fists, bare hands. That's the name of the game, Manu. When they're older, they'll be playing with a ball that's very much harder. We've said that everybody in the land of the Basques is a Pilote player, but of course that isn't exactly true. The female half of the population begins with hopscotch, which is an international game if ever there was one, and then graduates to the fandango. Gentlemen try to keep up. Remember little Robert, 5-year-old champion we saw working out against the church wall a few minutes ago? Well, we persuaded him to submit to a brief interview on some technical aspects of Pilote. Bonjour, Robert.
Bonjour.
Introduce us to your friends, his amis.
Lui Jean-Louis, puis lui Jean-Martin, et puis lui Didi, puis lui Jean-Bernard.
Qu'est-ce que c'est ça que tu as dans la main? Merci, what he has in his hand.
C'est pas là.
And of course he explains that's the paddle. Tu aimais jouer?
Oui, monsieur.
Tu étais à l'école? I'm asking if he's been to school.
Oui, monsieur.
Qu'est-ce que c'est que tu as fait à l'école?
J'ai écrit.
I ask him what he's done in school, and he says he writes. Qu'est-ce que c'est que tu as écrit?
Feu.
I ask him what he writes, and he says F. Bon. Now I think we ought to have the champion give us a little demonstration. Montre-moi.
Comme ça.
Avec l'autre main. This is very important in the game, the changing of the hands. L'autre main.
Oui, monsieur.
Oh, merci, Robert. Bravo. Well, it's no wonder that so many great tennis champions are Basques, because, of course, Pilote's the best training in the world for it. Barotra, for instance, who was born just around here, the great French champion. He was tennis champion more than 25 years ago, and then French champion just a couple of years ago again. Told me that he attributes a lot of his stamina, and particularly his footwork, to what he learned as a kid on Pilote courts. And speaking of champions... I don't suppose there's any doubt that Robert's going to be a great champion. Pretty much depending on which town they come from, these future champions will be playing either with a big hand basket of Grand Chistra or with a smaller one, used in yoki-gabi, and here it is. Chris's favorite game.
Yeah.
Yoki-gabi. Now, what does it mean, yoki-gabi, Chris?
Well, yoki-gabi means the game pure. They think it's a better game.
A purer game.
Yes.
Truer game. Maybe an older game. Do you figure an older game also?
I should think so.
Yeah. It's a lot faster, isn't it? Because that basket is shorter, yes. I understand the basket began as a fruit basket or a fish basket or something, like one of the first great players tied to his hand. Well, what we're watching now is as important a part of Basque life as Pilote. This is the fandango, famous fandango. And dancing it, correct me if I'm wrong, Chris, is the champion Pilote player that we saw playing Grand Chistra a little earlier. What's his name?
Mishinari.
Mishindarit. And with him is another Pilote player?
No, it's the shoemaker.
Oh, he's the shoemaker and...
A couple of the girls.
And their girlfriends. Who's making the music?
Well, there's the butcher, the baker, and the spark plug maker.
You're kidding.
No.
The three musicians, that seems to be their profession. Butching and baking and candlestick. No, spark plug making.
Yeah.
The footwork is, of course, wonderful.
Yeah, sometimes they dance around a glass of wine.
Without spilling the wine.
Yeah.
And the old lady who's so light on her feet, the large lady, what's she do?
She's the peanut seller.
The local peanut vendor.
Yeah.
Of course, it's Sunday today, and we can see the people coming down from church, passing the Pilote Court. It's a funny thing about church, isn't it, Chris? The men and women in the Basque Country sit separately in church.
Yes,
Right.
the men are in the galleries upstairs and the women are downstairs.
And it's funny because the only church I know of where they separate the sexes is the Jewish church. Just the opposite there.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is a popular version of Pilote up here in the mountains. It's Manu, bare hand. Well, this priest was quite famous a little while ago, and he smuggled the Finley children over into hiding in Spain. The kids had been refugees, and some relatives had turned up and wanted them back, but the kids wanted to stay with their adopted family, and Father Ibarbaru carried the smallest on his back, using the regular smuggler's route over the mountains. And when he returned that day as a cover, he played a game of Pilote. Quite a man. Well, he lost the game. The kids are in Israel. No matter what your opinion may be on the matter, it's sure that the good father was doing what he thought was right. And he certainly plays a good game of Pilote. I think we'll take one of our cameras over and give you a close-up of that hand. They say that the right hand of a Basque is twice the size of the left and that there's an extra bone in it. I don't know whether that's true or not.
Oh, that's a legend.
That's just a legend. Well, this country's full of legends, and many of them have to do with Pilote and fabulous Pilote players. Surprisingly enough, quite a few of them seem to be true. There's the great Pekain, who played in bare feet and won a championship, even though the court had been covered by the opposition with a thick layer of carpet tacks. Now, there was a tough man. He had a fairly tough wife, too, and she made a lot of trouble for him. And one day, he came home late. I think it was 8 days late that he came home, and she did that thing that wives do sometimes. She clammed up. She didn't say a word, just lay in bed and stared. And he said, good evening, and she didn't answer. And he said, what's wrong with you? And she didn't answer. And he said, don't you feel well? And she didn't answer. And Pekain went away and got the local priest and came back and proceeded to give her extreme unction. Which is a story that ought to make a lot of husbands happy. What we're watching now is Rebo, R-E-B-O-T. That's the oldest, am I right? And also the most certainly the most complicated to watch because of the different elements in it. There's a shistera, the basket tied to the hand, and also a glove. A couple of players have a leather glove, as you'll notice. What's the glove for, Chris?
Well, they act as human nets.
The glove ones.
Yes.
And what about that funny thing in the middle there that the server uses?
Well, that's called a butari.
What?
That's called a butari.
Well, I'm glad you told me.
And the
Anyway, what do? You bounce the ball off
that, and they send it to the wall.
Yeah. How's it scored?
Like tennis.
And what we're listening to, that wonderful sound, that continuous singing, is the scorekeeper. He sings the score. I never heard that in a tennis game.